All right, Adam, signing day is wrapped up, and we're doing this the day after signing day, so you look a little more rested than yesterday. I'm a little more rested than yesterday. I know that signing day for you, more so than me, because 24/7. That's what you do. That's what you guys live for, is signing day, right? So probably the days leading up to it and signing day, you're almost like the coaches. Not a lot of sleep for you those days, right?
I started my prep earlier this year because there have been years where, I'm going to bed at 1 in the morning and then back up at 4 a.m. So it wasn't quite that bad this year, but it is a long enough day to where, had we done this after Darrell's press conference yesterday, I would have sounded a little punch drunk at that point. I don't take very good care of my body on signing day. I think I had 3 Red Bulls yesterday and a bunch of bagels, and we had wings when I got back home last night. So it was nice to get a full night's sleep last night and eat a little bit healthier today and not be pounding Red Bull.
Well, that's kind of why I decided to do this on Thursday and not today, or not Wednesday. So yeah, let's get the thoughts on the class. We're not going to go through every player because I know you've done that. You've got videos on every single player on your site at 24/7. So we just want to hit some of the highlights and get some of our thoughts on the class. So in general, what are your thoughts on this class? It's one that currently ranks 6th in the Pac-12, which would match. Well, actually, for 24/7, it'd be the highest ranked class that CU's had since joining the Pac-12. But how good is this class? Is this the best class they've had since they joined the Pac-12?
So, you've got some schools down there like a USC that are going to jump Colorado at some point. I think Colorado will end up probably with the 10th ranked class in the Pac-12 when all is said and done, maybe 9th. And we'll see with maybe some of the late additions. Darrell did say that they've got 7 spots they want to fill here, and they're going to do that both through the portal and with some late signees. So they're not going to finish 6th. And I think Mel Tucker's class was it was 6th or 7th the year he was. So that will end up being a little bit higher rated in terms of what's on paper and the star ratings and all of that. Mm-hmm. With this class, I would say I like a lot of these players, and even some of the guys, Chase Sowell, that didn't have other Power 5 offers that they went in for late in the process. And I know the reaction from CU fans is they want the shiny blue chip guy to commit. And I totally understand that, because it's been proven over time that those guys that are 4-star prospects have a better chance to be starters, all conference, NFL draft picks, on all that stuff. But Chase Sowell commits, and then we have Gabe Brooks that covers Texas for 24/7 Sports come onto our board and go, this kid is legit. He's a guy that should have had more Power 5 options, and I don't know why he didn't have more. There's a lot of guys like that in this class. You take a flyer on Oki Salavea, and you watch that clips, and it's American Samoa. It's kind of hard to evaluate what that's going to look like when he gets on campus, but that's a guy you love seeing them take a flyer on, whether he's going to be a quarterback or a defensive player. At the very least, he's going to be a special team stud, and probably a lot better than that. So there are guys they took chances on that didn't have the other Power 5 options that I like quite a bit. Now, the staff has had a hard time closing with those blue chip guys. Jaden Ott was a guy they were in on until the last minute. He goes to Cal. Samuel Okunlola from the Boston area. It looked like they might get him late in the process. He ends up going to Pittsburgh. And so they haven't had those signing day announcements really go their way. And that's what generates a lot of the excitement with the fan base. And so I get that frustration that they want to see the staff close. A fan, they get 12, 13 games a year to cheer on the Buffs. And recruiting allows them to kind of have that sense of, let's beat these other teams for a recruit, and it kind of makes things exciting. And so when they don't do that, I get why certain people are frustrated. I go back, Brian, to their 2020 class, or 2021 class, the class they signed last year. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guys that were in that mid-3 level range that came in and played as true freshmen and looked a whole lot better than what their other college options were coming out of high school. Nico Reed, Kalen Moore, Tyron Taylor, all cornerbacks. Trevor Woods looks like he's going to be a really good player. He did have a couple other options, but he wasn't a blue chip recruit coming out of high school. Chase Penry looks like he's got a bright future. Ty Robinson. So there's a lot of guys in that class they brought in last year that people weren't that excited about, but once they got on the field this fall and you start looking at their future, you get pretty excited. And so we'll see if they were able to do that again with this 2022 class. It's hard to out-evaluate everybody else every year. You're going to need to close on some of those battles with the blue chip guys at some point. But again, I like a lot of the guys in this class.
Yeah, and you talk about closing. This wasn't even a blue chip guy, but they lost Kenny Soares on signing day. That was a tough one. I know the staff, was really kind of taken aback by that one. He had been committed since right about the start of camp. Actually committed before camp. Announced it right around the start of camp. But Northwestern comes in. I heard 9:00 on Tuesday night with an offer, and Wednesday morning he signs with them. So that was a tough one. And I guess you can look at it and say they traded that. Then on the flip side, no pun intended, they flipped Grant Page from Fairview, from Nebraska. So there's a win and a loss there as far as flips on signing day. What were your thoughts on those two scenarios right there?
Kenny Soares was my favorite player in their whole class.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, he's a guy that is what you need as an inside linebacker in today, playing in the Pac-12. A guy that can play in the box but can play in space as well. And sometimes looking at some of his clips, I wonder how good the competition was there because the blocking wasn't all that fantastic. But just watching his size-speed ratio, I really liked him. And it's proof. I mean, it really does not end until these guys sign that letter of intent. I talked to Kenny Soares a couple days before signing it. He sure sounded as committed as any other guy in his class, but Northwestern offers that education. And so it's a tough deal. But fortunately, they did get Grant Page. I think that did calm a little bit of the frustration that we started the first day of the early signing period with Soares going to Northwestern. And Page was a guy that it looked like, he wanted to get out and experience something new for college and had a change of heart there late in the process. And just a really big, good athlete that, is a good basketball player as well, a guy that could possibly play defensive back for you, but I know they project him as a receiver, just a good late get. And so that helps. But I think linebacker's a spot you probably need guys more than receiver at this point, right?
Yeah, and I think both were needs. Obviously, you had several receivers leaving the portal after the season. You lose Levante. So there's some tough spots there, but I agree with you. Losing Soares, I mean, you wish you could have kept him and flipped Grant Page, right? But now they still need. I agree with you. You probably needed that linebacker more so than that third receiver. But either way, it's a good thing with Grant Page, but they do need to go find that other inside linebacker. And Soares, you're right. I mean, he was one of my favorite players as well. I believe he was the second highest rated guy on the list, or second or third.
He was pretty high. Yeah, Page is rated pretty highly as well.
Yeah. So so that's a tough one. But let's go through your favorites. You don't have Soares now, so you can't go with that one. But since he's not there, who is your favorite guy in this class?
It's not the highest rated, but there's something about Dixon and Ludwig from Clackamas, Oregon that I really like. When you watch his film, guys that play with a motor like that and play physical, usually end up having pretty productive careers and usually end up exceeding their expectations. He's a kid that's going to come in and work his butt off, and a guy off the edge that I think can do a lot of different things defensively, especially, and it seems to match up well what CU does defensively, asking that outside linebacker to be versatile, to be able to play different roles, even put his hand in the dirt at times. And so that's a guy. As a group, I really like what Demetrius Martin has done as a recruiter at CU. You can look back to their class last year and mention those three guys that played as true freshmen and seem to have really bright futures. He hasn't been landing that 4- and 5-star guy that maybe some folks hoped, because in Demetrius Martin's past, he had gotten those blue chip guys, but yeah, he's clearly a good evaluator of talent. Again, going back to who the guys they signed last year. In this group, again, not blue chip guys, but Simeon Harris comes out to Boulder last June and just absolutely balled out for a couple of days, and is a really good athlete coming from Northern California, a guy that I think is going to have a really good career. And so you've also got Keyshawn Mills and Joshua Wiggins in that class, guys that are coming in from Texas that have good sign. And one thing I've noticed with the guys that Demetrius Martin's brings in are guys that are really versatile as cornerbacks, guys that can go play other defense back positions. Like we saw Tyron Taylor. I gotta admit, I was a little skeptical when they moved him from corner because he's not that big of a guy. He's pretty slight frame, but he went into that nickelback role and played pretty well. And so I like the versatility of the guys that he brings into that group. And he recruits guys that have a lot of confidence at that cornerback position, which is obviously huge because you're going to give up plays. Even Christian Gonzalez gave up plays this last year, as good as he is. So that's just a group in general that I really like. You're talking about back-to-back recruiting classes of we'll see when these guys that just signed get on campus, but it looks like they got 6 quality guys at the cornerback position in 2 recruiting cycles. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, then you throw in Christian from the one before that. That's a pretty good group of young players. Now, if Christian plays as well as he has been, he's probably got one more year in Boulder. I would imagine he could declare for the draft a year from now. So we'll see what he does there. But I like those guys as well. Caden Ludwig is one of my favorites in this class. But I like Dylan Dixon. I know he's maybe the highest rated guy in this class. So it's easy to say, but I really like that kid. Really good players. You talk about position versatility. I think he's got that. I mean, he's a safety, but he had to play some linebacker this year. I don't know if it was had to, but they put him at linebacker this year because he was so good at rushing the passer and things like that. I like this kid, and when I talked to him the other day, he said that there's some people that say he's not a safety, he's a linebacker, and there's some that say he can do both. He's out there to prove he can do both, and that he said that there's people that have told him that they don't think he's fast enough or not good in coverage enough to play safety. He wants to prove people wrong, and he sounds like a kid that is going to be determined. He's a guy I'm excited about. I think he's got good size, good position versatility, and he's probably my favorite player in this class, along with Caden Ludwig. I think Ludwig might be a real gem for the staff, getting him out of Clackamas.
And it's always good. Ludwig came out last summer. They tweaked some of the rules, and coaches were allowed to do one-on-one private workouts with these guys. And in the past, you could maybe go to a practice at high school, but you couldn't have your hands on these guys and really seeing, what tools they have. And they were able to do that with Caden Ludwig before they took his commitment in June. And then he had such a great senior season. With Dylan Dixon, you talk about guys that have Pac-12 ready bodies. If he is indeed going to play safety, which it sounds like he will, at least coming in, he's got the physical size to come in and play pretty early. And I think you've talked with him. He's a real personable young man. Football runs in that family. He's got 3 brothers that play college football. I think his dad did as well. So, yeah, he's a guy that you should be excited about as a CU fan.
Yeah, and you're right. He is very personable. I like that kid. I've talked to him a couple times, and just super nice kid. And I believe he was among the ones that end up staying. I think he was the original commit for this class, wasn't he? Back in February. Yep. Mm-hmm. So he stuck with the bus for a long time, and so I'm excited about him. Let's talk about quarterback, because that's always a position people want to talk about. What do you think of Owen McCown? I mean, he had a huge senior year. Still, kind of slight. He told me the other day, he's still, I know they list him 6'2". He told me 6'1", 175. His doctors tell him that he's still going to grow a little bit, but hasn't happened quite yet. What are your thoughts on him?
And his dad was a late bloomer as well.
Yeah.
He didn't have, the Power 5 interest coming out of high school. And where did he end up going to school? It wasn't a Power 5 school.
No.
A little bit later on.
Sam Houston or something like that.
Yeah. And so, Owen, he's not going to be an early enrollee, which initially, with quarterbacks, you kind of almost expect that now. But because of where he's at in his maturity, just from a physical standpoint, he probably is going to have to come in redshirt no matter what anyway, right? So maybe that doesn't end up really being a big deal. And you do take high school stats with a little bit of a grain of salt, but he sure was fantastic his senior year. And you like that he is a guy that, while he's not Khalil Tate out there, he can run the football and be athletic and mobile. And obviously with his pedigree, he's super smart, and that's something that's going to be great to have in that quarterback's room. So I don't think he's going to be part of the conversation in terms of who's starting at CU this upcoming year, but a guy that you can bring in and let him develop a little bit. And you really like what he brings to the table from a lot of standpoints.
And, Darrell is one that has always said that he's going to play the best players. And I don't know if this is his philosophy or not. I'm just judging off what we've seen the last 2 years. He does seem like a coach that doesn't want his true freshman quarterbacks to play right away. Brandon Lewis, as talented as he is, and I know he struggled this year, but he was never included in that competition in 2020. It was Sam Neuer and Tyler Lytle, and then this year, Drew Carter, up until JT Stroud got hurt, was never really considered in the competition for the job this year. So I just wonder if Carl Durrell doesn't truly believe in those true freshmen, playing that first year if he doesn't have to. So that's just my speculation, Adam. I don't know what you think, but maybe that's a good thing for Owen.
But at other positions, it's not the case, right? There are a lot of guys that were freshmen out there playing that we did not expect to be part of the mix this year. So he's definitely willing to play the best guy. But I would probably tend to agree with you. It's hard to say that first year with Brandon Lewis just because of the pandemic, and Brandon Lewis didn't get spring ball. So I don't think it was feasible for him to be really part of the mix until he was. So we'll see, over the course of time. But at other positions, guys can come in and play right away.
And that's why I guess I say I don't know for sure if that's his philosophy, because it's hard to judge a little bit. I mean, it's been 2 weird years, but both true freshmen have never really been a part of the competition. So I don't know if that's a philosophy thing or not, but we'll see on him. Let's go one last thing. I want to ask you kind of your unheralded guy. I mean, there's always somebody near the bottom of the rankings that ends up being a really good player. Like I try to think of like Rodney Stewart from several years ago, a Rick Gamboa that, we thought he might not play here. And he ends up being the leading tackler for about 3 years in a row. Who's a guy maybe that's on the bottom of the rankings that you look at and say, that kid's going to be really good?
Without hesitation, the answer here would have been Jordan Tyson, but he got a bump up the ratings late in the process by both 24/7 Sports and Rivals because he had a absolutely fantastic senior season, transferring into Allen High School, one of the top programs in Texas, making just acrobatic catches out there. He's not the biggest receiver, but you watch his film and it makes you pretty excited about his potential. Since he did get that bump up, it's hard to pick him as within the criteria you laid out there, Brian. So yeah. I'll say, because Tyson did get that bump up, I'll go with Xavier Smith out of Georgia, somebody that was a quarterback until he focused on being a safety as a senior, was his region's player of the year, despite the fact that he broke his leg late in the season. And he's a guy that you can just tell kind of has that playmaking ability to him. A really smart kid. He's graduating high school with 2 AA degrees, which frankly I didn't even know was possible until I clarified with him. I was like, how did you pull that off? He was able to take some credits at his high school, but also at a local junior college. And so a super smart kid as well. That's a guy that I think, is going to end up being a lot better than a lot of people thought. And coming out of Georgia, I think there's going to be some programs in that part of the country that wish here in a couple of years they could go back and offer him a scholarship, because I think he's going to be pretty good. Yeah.
For me, you talked about this guy already, but Chase Sowell is the guy that's rated, near the bottom of your list. I think he's going to be a pretty good player, but the guy I go with is at the very bottom right now, and we've already talked about him, but Oki Salavea, that guy intrigues me more than anybody in this class, because they're going to let him play quarterback to start off. I don't know if he ends up there, but I am excited to see what this kid does. I mean, I think he's just a football player that's going to help this team. And you already mentioned it, that at the very least we expect him to be a special team stud, right? And maybe even more than that. But I am curious, can he come in here and play quarterback? Can he be, somebody that surprises everybody and he's by 2023 the starting quarterback for this team? Or does he come in here and he's the starting safety for this team? So yeah, I don't know what he's going to be, but I think that we're going to talk a lot about Oki Salavea over the next 4 years.
This is no offense to JT Shroud or Brendan Lewis, but it would be fun if he came in and was a legit quarterback. I think he'd be a fun guy to cover at that position. It'd almost be like Cepho Lufau on steroids, the quarterback. He's such a physical kid. It's one of the characteristics a lot of those players coming from American Samoa are known for. And so it would be great, but it's impossible to project exactly what his position is going to be until we at least get through a spring ball with him on campus. It'll be great. He should get some opportunities at quarterback with Stroud still working his way back, and the fact that Owen McCown won't be here till this summer.
Well, it'll be interesting too, because he wears number 8, which he told me that's just kind of the tradition that the starting quarterback of his school wears that number. but he wants to wear number 8 at CU. And as we know, number 8 is what Sal Inessi wore, and he's got that connection to Sal. I mean, they weren't related, but his Sal Inessi really took Oki's father under his wing at CU and helped him with the transition. And he said that Sal Inessi is revered in his house because of what he did. And so, the stories will come out if Oki plays quarterback and wears number 8 for Colorado. He's the starting quarterback. The Sal Inessi stories are going to be coming up quite a bit. So there's at least that connection to kind of a tragic time, but a great time in Colorado history.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, that kid is going to get on the field at CU some way, somehow, at some position.
Yeah, so he'll be a lot of fun. But anything else you want to wrap up with this signing day? Let me just ask you real quick. You said 7 spots. How busy are they between now and February?
Now, all those spots aren't going to go to high school recruits. So
right.
There's going to be a couple surges of guys going into the portal. I know people are antsy. They want CU to be having these portal guys commit to them right now. But after the bowl game, there's going to be another surge of guys into the portal. Yeah. And then after spring ball, there's going to be another surge. So I would be surprised if all 7 of those spots are figured out, between now and the first Wednesday in February. So you probably see it be, 3 high school guys and 4 transfers, or 4 high school guys and 3 transfers, something like that. So they'll be somewhat busy, but that signing period in February now is going to be nothing like what we saw here on Wednesday in terms of the 19 guys signing. You'll probably see 3 or 4 in February.
Yeah, I will say they're going to be less active in the portal than I've projected they would be. I thought they were going to be very active in the portal and maybe get, use 10 to 12 of these spots for portal guys. But I guess Carl Durrell wants to build this thing with high school guys. I know that's what his preference is. I just thought they would plug in some more holes with portal guys. Are you surprised by that?
A little bit, but again, we're sitting here mid-December. Right now, we're talking about maybe adding 7 guys, but what if, what is it now with Curtis Appleton? I think it's been 11 players that started the 21 season with CU that are in the portal. You can still go up and down CU's roster and pick out some guys that might be entering the portal at some point. And so that could open up more spots. And so they could end up being more active than it looks like they will be right now. But I agree with you. I do think, though, that Jarrell would prefer to bring in guys, keep them around. It's so hard to do nowadays because guys don't have the patience to stick around if they're not playing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I know, you and I will probably talk about it, after that other signing period. We'll see how busy it is. I mean, last year I think there wasn't a whole lot to talk about, but we'll see. But
we'll have a new offense coordinator to talk about at that point.
That's true. And maybe we'll do a special emergency video when they do an offense coordinator. But unless we do that, we probably won't have another one of these for a while. So happy holidays to you and your family and to the Buff fans out there.
Same to you, Brian. Happy holidays.